Hi everyone, welcome to the Odinic School of Mysteries. My name is Alex, and I want to start by thanking Bear for trusting me with his channel and also for creating this amazing community for us. It really means the world to me, and I could not be more grateful. So, today I want to give you a little introduction to Seidr, what it means to me and the traditions of it and where it came from and how I came to it and some of the different ways that it manifests itself in the universe. So I think I'll start by telling you a little bit about me and how the mysteries found me. So I was brought up in Cyprus. It's an island in the Mediterranean, which is like a natural gateway between the east and the west from where it's placed. And it's had a super colorful history. It was occupied by the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Persians, the Assyrians, the Roman Empire, the French, the Venetians, the Ottomans, and it was even annexed by the British in 1914. Also, fun fact, Cyprus was actually the first country in the world to come under Christianity when two of the apostles, I think it was Paul and Barnabas, when they visited the island. So aside from all of that, the bit that interested me is that Cyprus is known as the island of Aphrodite, or Venus, as the Romans called her. She was the goddess of love and fertility. And in the Greek myths, she was actually born out of the sea foam right there on the island. And there are various places attributed to her there. One of the things that kind of always struck me as a child was that these myths are very much alive today. So we've got the baths of Aphrodite, for example, in Cyprus. And according to the legend, she used to come here and bathe, and it's where she met her lover, Adonis. And now the locals believe to this day that dipping your hand into those waters will help you to become more fertile if you have problems conceiving. And this is just one of the many, many myths which are alive and well today. And they surrounded me as a child. Egypt was a 30-minute plane ride away, as was Israel. So I consider myself extremely lucky because I grew up amongst these myths and legends. And I think they've obviously permeated me in a really profound way. So having said that, let's talk about Seidr. The first thing you need to know about Seidr is your own understanding of the concept of fate. What does fate actually mean to you? Does fate mean that your whole life, all your actions are predetermined? That you're powerless against it? Or does it mean something else? So I see fate as a basic set of gifts, like a blueprint of energies that you were given at birth, which are there to do with as you please. It's entirely up to you if you work with those energies or ignore them or work against them. It's kind of like a dress. Imagine a dress leaving a factory with a tag, a care label sewn into the back. It might be a cotton dress or a silk one or a wool dress. And the care label tells you how to take care of it, to keep it looking at its best. And then it's kind of up to you how you treat that dress. You can dye a different color, you can wear it with different accessories, you can shrink it in the wash because you've ignored the care label. The choice is really yours. But if you want to keep the dress looking great and fulfill its life purpose, you should probably follow the instructions. I don't know if you've noticed, actually, but there is quite a number of different ancient cultures who had the same idea of women weaving these webs of fate. So in Norse mythology, you have the Norns, who are these female beings who rule the fate of gods and men through the thread of life. Their names were Urdur, that which was, Verdandi, what is, and Skuld, that which must happen. So basically, they're responsible for the past, the present, and the future. Now, those three things are interlinked because everything we've done will have consequence on our lives, on our future. And if you believe in reincarnation and karma, the plot thickens. So suddenly we get the idea of freedom of choice having limits. We are essentially limited by our past actions. And actually, if you think about it, it's quite easy to get stuck in this web. So, for example, I have a friend whose father was so focused on building up his company so that the family could have a better future that he missed almost all of his son's childhood. And I am sure that all of you have at least one member of your family or a friend who's completely stuck in the past. For example, I have a relative who's been regurgitating tales of someone being mean to her in 1951 or something, and she is completely unable to move past it and concentrate on her present or her future. She keeps replaying this event over and over again. Now, in the Greek myths, it's made really clear that any attempts to outmaneuver fate is totally pointless. So the weaving goddesses were called the Mire. It's spelled Moirai if you want to look it up. And they're usually described as these cold and unfeeling old hags. In fact, the term spinster comes from this concept. And the reason they're like this is because they have to remain impartial. The last thing you want is someone who's in charge of fate to have a crush on someone or a grudge or something, because that would just be terrible for the whole tapestry. And these fates have specific names. So you have Clotho, the spinner, Lechesis, who is the allotter, and Atropos, the cutter. And in Plato's Republic, funnily enough, the three Mire sing. Lechesis sings of things that were. Clotho sings of things that are. And Atropos, things that are meant to be. Are we seeing a pattern yet? Funnily enough, Shakespeare's Macbeth has three witches who predict the future. Pushkin, a famous Russian author, has three fair maidens late one night who sat and spun by candlelight. And the Mire was supposed to appear 3 nights after a child's birth to determine the course of their life and bestow individual gifts upon them. Does this sound familiar? You've got the 3 fairies coming to visit Sleeping Beauty, And what a coincidence. There's a spinning wheel involved. These things will keep coming up again and again and again. There's an old Slavic deity called Mokosh, who has her very own weave of fate going on as well. And she has her own day. And surprise, surprise, it was Friday, Freya's day. And Freya just happens to be amazing at Seidr. So it's really hard not to make the connections at this point, I think. So we have now established that Seidr definitely has something to do with fate. And fate is much more than just a fixed concept. We've got a whole number of different cultures with goddesses weaving webs. And symbolically, it tells quite a story. So think about it. When you're weaving, you're doing something very repetitive with both of your hands. And your mind is then free to drift off. Essentially, it's a journey inside yourself. Knowing what we know about quantum entanglement and the idea that everything is connected in the universe, I think it's quite mind-blowing that all of these ancient cultures were super aware of these things. And what does Seidr actually have to teach us then? I would say that the answers we seek are already inside us. We already have that care label. We just need the right keys and the right doors to access them. So I would say that Seidr can be used for many things. My personal interest lies in spiritual development, working on your shadow, finding your true purpose, working with the cosmic energies rather than against them to build your life. And what are these cosmic energies exactly? So again, the Norse have a concept called Orlog, O-R-L-O-G. This is kind of like the threads which make the web possible. So everything is interconnected. Not only do you have inherited threads from your past lives, your gifted threads from birth, but also the threads that you build up yourself through your actions and your behaviors. So it's really not fixed. It's a moving, evolving concept. Some of these threads can be understood by learning the runes or the tarot or the zodiac. In my mind, they're all more or less the same consciousness technology. For many years now, I've kind of seen the world around me through the prism of the zodiac. I can't really tell you where or how it happened. I honestly, genuinely don't know. I've never read any books. I've never taken any courses. But what I have done over the years is really, really carefully observe the people and the planets and nature around me. And through the years, I've built up my own understanding of it. So I can look at a natal chart and see someone's energies and potential based on their energetic blueprint. But then it's up to you to choose what to do with those energies. Just like the dress, I can only really read your care label. And much like the mysteries, this incredible knowledge has kept itself kind of hidden in plain sight. The terrible horoscopes that you see at the back of magazines, I swear they are purposely put there as a blind to stop people from digging further. If you have any doubts about the power of the planets, I really recommend that you go outside in winter and tell me how the sun affects everything. How many crops do you get? What are all the animals doing? How do you feel when you haven't seen the sun in months? How are your vitamin D levels? And if you don't believe that the moon has any effect on you, go hang out in your nearest emergency room during a full moon. Ask any doctor or nurse and they will tell you. And like just the mere fact that humans are made up of 60% water and the moon controls the tides, that should really tell you everything. And bear in mind, that's just the sun and the moon. Each planet has its own super distinct energy, and they have imprinted themselves upon you at birth, and they continue to affect you daily, whether you know it or not. I will give you an example. I think this is the point where it really became real for me. So I live in London and I was stuck in a traffic jam. And I distinctly remember it was Mercury Retrograde. Now, Mercury is the winged god. He has wings on his shoes, Hermes, the Greek winged god. And he is in charge of communication and travel and commerce and all sorts of things like that. And he is represented by the planet Mercury. And now when Mercury is in retrograde, it's not quite going how it should be going. It's traveling backwards. So what I saw was a bus driver who got out of the bus in the middle of this traffic jam and started yelling and screaming blue murder at the guy in the car in front of him because the guy didn't move a meter forward. And this to me was just such a brilliant way to demonstrate what Mercury retrograde is and what the energies are. Because, you know, bus drivers are supposed to remain impartial. They are civil servants. They work for the public. They cannot and they should not be screaming at the public. And I've never seen them do that. So that's just one little anecdote of what happens. And you think you're not affected. And you really are. You really, really are. Everybody is. And for me, it's especially interesting to observe how family units always consist of specifically balanced elements, which allow each family member to kind of grow in a particular direction. And what I do know is that every single one of us, everything in the universe is part of this web. Together we form a tapestry. And knowing where you fit in, how you're part of the grand plan, what your individual gifts are, is seriously exciting to me. There is so much more for me to tell you, but I think I'm going to leave it here for now because I can talk about this stuff for days on end. If you guys liked the introduction, let me know and I'll prepare some more stuff for you. And again, I have to thank Bear for encouraging me to do what I absolutely love and I am obsessed with. And I really hope that this is useful. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I just want to leave you with a reminder that today is a new moon in Capricorn, which means that it's the ideal time to take a minute and set some new intentions, specifically intentions which relate to material things which would take some time to achieve. So for example, you might want to transform your body, or you might want to put on weight or lose weight, or, you might just want to get fitter. And this obviously won't happen overnight. Or you might want to write a book or build a house. So this Capricorn energy is absolutely wonderful for setting those types of intentions right now. So good luck with that. Please make sure you take some time to do that today. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.